What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday night. I'm guessing, like a lot of you guys, my day started by digging myself out of about half a foot of snow. Um, I think we got ours from, I don't know, maybe 1 in the morning till about 4 a.m. So I knew it was going to be one of those situations where I had to wake up and do the snow before I went into work. They canceled school for my youngest. So it's just one of those mornings that kind of got off to a slow start. Ended up being kind of a slower day, but I'm ready to have some fun here tonight. I think we've got a fun show, fun stream for tonight. We've got my guest for tonight is John from Gentleman and Whiskey. If you're not familiar with his channel, definitely check it out. He posts a lot of cool content, reviews, shorts, list videos, your standard fare for a whiskey tube. I like it because he's got a good style. I think his production is pretty slick. His videos aren't overly long. He doesn't take himself too seriously. Kind of reminds me a little bit of me in that sense. I have a shorter attention span, so if you can do, a list video or a review in under 10 minutes, I'm on board. So we're going to bring him on in just a minute. In addition to that, we're going to play a blind game. Same game that we played with Scott and Marty on the last stream, if you were here for that. He's got 4 samples. We're going to, walk him through some questions, and he's going to get a score. The way that I explained it to him is he's kind of playing the course here. So he's going to have a score somewhere from 0 to 10. And after the show, we'll see how he stacks up with the other contestants. And that's something that I think we'll try to carry out through the year and see at the end of the year who ended up with the highest score. So I don't know. Sounds like fun to me anyway. Give me something to do. So before I bring on John, I'll say hi to a few of you guys that were here in chat. Gary Franchi, what is going on, my friend? I've got the Hello Again Whiskey Friends pick called the Franchi Bunch. Sticker's kind of small. See if you can get a better look at it here. But I just got this in yesterday. It was yesterday. Maybe it was the day before yesterday, but I haven't cracked it yet. So I'm going to have a pour of this on the stream at some point. If you guys have it, you can have a pour with me. Got Tim Cornet in the house. What's going on, Tim? Roger Reese is on board. Glad to see you, Roger. Roger had a small cameo in my video that I released earlier today, whether you realize it or not. So, Roger, you might want to check that out. My Bourbon Journey. What's going on, Scott? Good to see you. Tom Morrow, the hardest working brand ambassador on the internet. I got your samples today. I'm looking forward to getting into those. Let's see. Yes, you did. Okay. I probably should have asked your permission first, Roger. But sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission or something like that. You know what I mean. Anyway, well, let's bring on my guest here. And just a second. There he is. All right, John, you're muted, so make sure we get you here. Oh, no.
I should be good.
There we go. Okay.
My
All right.
Music.
Yeah, so we stole that just for that intro.
It's awesome.
Hope you don't mind. And that is one of the things that I really like that. From the first time I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's cool as heck. So, I don't know if you put that together or you had it done. Either way, I enjoy it. It's a cool intro. And like I said earlier, I think a lot of what you do as far as your channel goes, the presentation, the production, the style, it's some slick looking videos, and that's part of the reason why I'm a fan. So, welcome to the stream, John.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. And I right back at you, honestly, because that was what attracted me to your channel as well. Seeing your videos pop up because, you know, when you watch one video on WhiskeyTube, 50 more pop up, and I saw your thumbnails and they were intriguing. So I went for it. No, I make everything. Like any graphic you see on my channel, I pride myself on just making it myself in Premiere. So yeah, I made that whole intro. I obviously didn't make the music because I'm not a musician, but yeah, everything else is me.
That's awesome. And it's definitely a lot of work to do. I mean, people that don't do the videos don't know how much goes into like a 5-minute video.
No, yeah.
You know, all the production and the editing, and I don't even do any of that. You know, my son does.
Yeah, shout out to Tyler.
You're able to, you know, shoot the videos, you know, edit them, produce them. You know, it's a pretty big undertaking. So I commend you for being able to crank out the content on a regular basis.
Well, thanks, man.
So, you know, a couple of questions that I've got for you, and this will kind of, you know, get us to where, you know, we're learning a little bit more about you and the channel. So it says on your logo that you started in 2000. So is that when you first started getting on to WhiskeyTube, or did you have a different channel or a different vehicle before that? Or
so started as a tasting group. So back in 2020, you know, when everybody was, you know, social distancing and all that stuff, my buddy Nate and I, who Nate actually was the first one on the channel with me, decided that we were going to start a whiskey group with our friends. And so we soft launched it in 2020. And then we made a video as kind of like a promo teaser. I was way back into like doing fun, like graphics and all this stuff to make, you know, whiskey group more fun. And so videos just kind of naturally came out of that. And then we launched the channel early in 2021, released one video, and then didn't do anything for like 8 months. So Nate kind of spent some time doing stuff with me, and then he kind of hit a busy patch in his life. And then I had Brandon on with me, and then Brandon had a kid right around the same time that I did. So it's actually been a year since I've been mostly solo. So we call it Gentlemen in Whiskey, like the EN, on purpose, because it was designed to be more than one person, but then it just kind of ended up being me. So here I am. Here's the John from G&W experience.
so I was trying to think how I first came across your channel, and I think it only goes back maybe not quite a year at this point. But I think when we were both trying to get into madness for ADHD whiskey, which unless I missed it, just didn't happen.
Nope. Absolutely ghosted.
I mean, I know he's got all kinds of stuff going on. I know he works for Barrel King and whatever else. But yeah, I remember they were doing like the seedings, and I'm like, well, that sounds like it's a channel. I got to go check this out. And I think that's kind of how I got acclimated with your channel. So if nothing else, a lot of those brackets and seedings kind of gave me, you know, even more of a gateway into, you know, checking out other content creators. Because I want to say another one that was that I kind of started watching from there was Prescription Bourbon.
Okay. Yeah.
Who I actually met since then. So, you know, got to put some faces with names. So, I mean, even though we didn't end up doing the competition or whatever, it still was kind of a cool way to, you know, be exposed to other channels and other people and do a little bit of networking. So anyway, so yeah, I don't think I've heard anything about that since maybe September or October.
So one of my really good friends, you actually met her in the Fantasy Whiskey Draft, Sherry from the Bourbon Besties. When she found out that I had petitioned, she joined Matt's Patreon just so she could get voting rights to help me make it.
That is dedication. That is dedication.
She's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, and they were doing voting for like the seeding, and he did a video in like, I want to say it was like July, saying that it was going to be coming up like towards the end of July, and then it was just nothing. At this point, I don't really have hope in it, but
yeah, I mean, if it happens, cool. If not, you know, I think at least my thinking was, well, one, I started I guess even before that, before I even started a channel, I watched ADHD Whiskey's videos. I've been in his Patreon probably for 3 years at this point. So when I started the channel, I'm like, wow, that would be really cool to be on an ADHD whiskey at some point and get to talk to Matt and whatever. So I thought that would have been cool. But as it turns out, it's turned into, I've met a handful of other people through it. So it's all good, man. I do still watch his videos and, I follow along. I know he streams on Fridays. I catch that occasionally, but on a Friday night late, I'm not usually watching Whiskey 2. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch plenty during the week.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of want to lay low a little bit on the weekend. But yeah, he puts together great videos. Yeah, and was definitely one of my, one of the channels that inspired me to start a Whiskey Tube channel. What would you say were some of the channels that kind of, brought you into this black hole of time that we call Whiskey Tube?
I mean, I feel like everybody says the Bourbon Junkies, and it's true for everyone. So, Bourbon Junkies, Jason Calori from the Mash and Drum, definitely Matt. Matt from ADHD Whiskey. A little bit the Whiskey Tribe, but they ended up being a little. I think you're either you love them or you hate them. You find them a little pretentious, or you absolutely love everything that they do. So they for me were, I watched some videos, but I wasn't really like full on into it. But yeah,
I think they were one of the bigger channels right away. So if you looked up anything on YouTube about a whiskey review or whatever, that was who you were going to see. So I definitely watched my share of their reviews. But I think that as I kind of got down the rabbit hole and discovered ADHD and their Bourbon Junkies and Jason, I definitely liked like what they had to offer better for whatever reason. It was just more interesting to me, which isn't to say anything bad about Dan and Rex. It just, I think a lot of their videos were really long, and I would find myself just kind of skate through them and get to the end or whatever. Whereas I put on Matt, I'll sit and watch his video start to finish. He's entertaining and amusing, even if he's not talking about whiskey. And same with Dan and Sean. And I think Dan and Sean kind of really sucked me into this, because when I found out that they were local guys here in Michigan, that's when I'm like, okay, well, I want to support them. And so I get into the Patreon, and then you find out a little bit more about what's going on. And I think they're responsible probably for a lot of us getting into this on some level.
Yeah, they definitely brought kind of like an everyman approach to things. Like they're joking, they're banter, but then like as they grew as a channel and started being more serious about it, I think they made the switch to not only having great palates, but then being able to make some really great whiskey. So
yeah, that's really been an interesting journey to watch, just from the outside for sure. Any other channels that you might say might have inspired you? Any smaller channels?
So I really enjoy Bourbon of the Week. Chris from Bourbon of the Week is really good. He was obviously in our fantasy whiskey draft. He's he's not like super local. I mean, I'm in Lancaster, which is like an hour and a half outside of Philly, but he's like way closer to Philly than I am. So he's been there. There's a group in Pennsylvania called PA Bourbon Squad, which is like 19,000 deep at this point, and it's crazy. It's probably the biggest community that I've seen that is like the least toxic. Like it's easy for, I think, newcomers to bourbon to come in and say like, hey, where can I find a bottle of Blanton's and not get like absolutely
shit on.
Right. Yeah. So
there are definitely a lot of Facebook groups that I've been in and out of over the years, where some are helpful if you're new. Others, like you said, if you ask, well, where can I get a plant, you're gonna get like 57 stupid comments and memes, and you're shunned.
Yeah, better bottles on the shelf every single time.
Yeah, so I don't know, but is that a Facebook group or something that okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a Facebook group of quite a few individuals, and they're doing some cool stuff. Like Sherry from the Bourbon Besties she does a raffle every year to benefit a group called Team Foster that
Mhm.
does service dogs for veterans. So we're in the thick of collecting bottles for that raffle right now, and then we'll do the actual raffle portion, and it's a lot of fun. This year we're actually doing a live show for the first round of that draft. So picks, I think it'll be like 1 through 64 or something like that.
Like the
And
raffle.
yeah, like they do it in a Facebook like messenger group. Everybody joins, you keep it rolling. Like they tag the next person, you know, Tom, you're coming up next. John's on the clock right now. And then as soon as I pick, you're next. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be like, I'm going to play the NFL draft analyst with my buddy Chris, and it's going to be a fun time.
You're gonna be the Mel Kiper Jr. of
Ooh, I have never liked Mel Kiper, honestly. I think he's got the worst
so
takes.
smug.
Yeah, he's got some of the worst takes in the NFL. I'll take Todd McShay though.
And he's been around forever too, and he's generally regarded as the expert. I don't know, for like 30 or 40 years that I can remember. And yeah, if you look back at like I mean, there's clips on the internet of
Oh yeah,
the people that he's talked up that have absolutely been crap. It's entertaining.
yeah.
I
My
think
buddies and I have
McShay's
done.
probably a little better, right?
I mean, I don't know that he's necessarily better. He's definitely less of a dick.
A little less annoying.
Yeah.
All right, a couple things here. Marty says he's in it to win it. I don't think I even announced that we did I announce that we were doing a raffle?
No,
We're
you
doing a
didn't.
bottle giveaway. First prize is going to be the bottle here, which is Walleye Run, 7-year malted rye, double barrel, 105 proof. I picked this up last week, and I had never seen it before. And the other walleye that I've tried was really good, so I figured, you know what, I'll pick up an extra and I'll use it as a giveaway. Because again, I don't think walleye or New Holland has that big of a distribution footprint. So hopefully somebody finds this interesting, and I think it's a good bottle.
Yeah.
So any $5 entry gets you in. Second prize, I will do a flight of what John's going to be drinking. And then third prize, I'll do a Bourbon Jerk Glen, courtesy of our friend Top Dog. So 3 giveaways, with the top prize being the Walleye Run bottle, which again, it's a solid bottle. Have you tried anything from them yet, John?
Oh, from Walleye Run? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know where it will be distributed near me. And
Yeah.
online places are super spotty in Pennsylvania because it's technically illegal. I know we were talking about that prior to the show, but to let our audience know, it's technically illegal to ship into Pennsylvania unless you have like one of 4 very specific licenses, and I'm not sure they actually exist for distilleries and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So order at your own risk.
I mean, I don't necessarily know that it's that. Like, no one has been like busted for shipping into Pennsylvania, but Sealbox was down from shipping to PA for a while they were still shipping other places. So I don't know if they got like busted or not, but I have this copy and paste thing for our Facebook group that says basically like, just so you guys know, don't share your, favorite places to buy whiskey on the internet without doing a PM, because there's definitely cops in here and people who, are lawyers for the state and stuff. So, watch what you're doing, because it happened to Sealbox. It could happen to other people. So,
I don't know if it has to do with them, getting in trouble, or if they just change whoever partner they have for that particular point in time, and they don't go into that state. It seems like such a nuanced and specialized area of the law, and a whole lot of red tape. But
yeah,
sometimes I go on a site and I see they ship here. Cool, I'll give it a shot. Most of the time, I see that we're one of like the 5 states that they don't ship to.
Yeah.
But New Holland's here in Michigan, so I've generally started to see a lot more of their stuff around the state.
Yeah. Beer company first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was a craft beer guy way before I was a whiskey guy, and so I'm familiar with New Holland Brewing Company, Brew Co, or whatever it is, New Holland beer. I've been out to the different breweries. They've got a couple of big ones here in Michigan. I wasn't the biggest fan of their beer, so I wasn't really super stoked when I heard they were making whiskey. It wasn't until I tried um, the origin stuff that I was like, wow, this is really good. Um, so I was surprised at how much I liked it, and
Yeah.
support local. So I got buddies out of state. I'll try to get them samples and see if it's something that they like as well. And I think that I think I've seen a few different channels that are going to be doing picks from New Holland this year. So I think it's something that we're going to be hearing a little bit more about. So yeah, they're doing good stuff.
Yeah. I've heard they do the Dragon's Milk, right?
Yeah, Dragon's Milk itself is
Yeah.
like I think it was the first bourbon barrel aged stout that you could find on any shelf all year.
Yeah.
Is the bourbon barrel aged stouts were like the once a year thing for most brands, but they were the first one, I think, at least that I can recall, that they had a shelf bourbon barrel aged stout.
Yeah.
And they started doing all the goofy variants, and some of them were good, some of them are really bad.
Yeah,
There was I remember there was like a chai tea variant, like it was awful.
See, there's some things that sound awful that I end up just really enjoying. Like I have this, where is it? The Whistle Pig Piggyback Alfa Romeo, which is finished in oolong tea and lychee barrels. And it sounds so wacky, but it is so freaking good.
It sounds like someone was goofing off and made a joke or something.
Absolutely. Yep. But is
that
like,
a bourbon or a rye?
It's a rye.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's good?
Yeah, it's got this like very unique flavor. Like the lychee, I think, really kind of takes over. And then you get like the mid portion of green tea, like that almost like herbal rye-ness.
Yeah.
That is kind of on the finish, and it doesn't get like super like dry, or it doesn't suck all the moisture out of your mouth. It's weirdly good. At some point when I'm sending you a sample next time.
Hey, I like different stuff. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I have not tried anything from Whistle Pig yet that I've liked. And
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, but this is different.
I'll trust you on it. But one of my good buddies, Danny, I don't know if he's in here tonight, but when we first started getting into different brands, he kind of went down a Whistle Pig black hole, and he got like the 10, the 12, the 15. Is there like an 18 or something too?
Yep.
I think he got
21 now too.
I don't think he got that one, but he got a bunch of them, and I did him blind, and I think for the most part, like each one was worse than the previous one.
Yeah. And
the one that I liked the least, I think, was like a $500 bottle. So it was just like, this brand is not my jam. And I when we did the fantasy whiskey draft, that one came up, I'm like, well, I really don't like this. Find out it's Whistle Pig.
Yeah.
So this is one of those brands that I haven't had, any luck finding things that I've liked, but that one sounds interesting. And to your point, there are some things that sound odd, but are surprisingly good. And the one that came to mind when you said that was, there's a distillery here in Michigan called Iron Fish. And that's just the name of the distillery, which sounds weird in and of itself. But they do I think it's a mezcal finished bourbon.
Okay.
And it just seemed like to me, like those two things don't mesh. Like, mezcal bourbon, that's got to be weird. But I think it was like, the finished whiskeys that they did, that was my favorite one. So I think maybe Jack Daniels did a tequila or a mezcal finish too. I haven't had that, but I think pretty well received from what I remember.
Yeah, I think that was one of their more recent Tennessee tasters was tequila. I don't think it was mezcal, which I know next to nothing about tequila, but I know I've heard that mezcal is a bit more smoky, so maybe that could work in a bourbon finish.
Yeah, I don't know the difference either. I think it might be like whiskey is to bourbon. Like, isn't mezcal like a sub category of tequila maybe? And someone in chat can correct us if we're wrong here.
That sounds right.
So if it's not right, it ought to be. All right, so John, we've got a blind flight lined up for you tonight,
I see it.
and you can see that they don't have numbers or letters per se, but they've got some goofy symbols. And the inspiration for that is, I think when I threw this together, I was watching Squid Game.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Have you seen that?
I cannot watch anything that's dubbed. Like, it is not
Oh,
in
okay.
my ability to do. I don't know why. I can read subtitles all day long, but dubs, just when their voice doesn't match the lip movement, it's just weird.
You know, I resist because that was one of the big hits of like during the
Mhm.
pandemic, right? And I
Yeah.
didn't watch it forever. I think I finally watched the first season like last year,
Mm.
and I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. I enjoyed it, and then two was out fairly recently, so I just kind of finished that, and that's kind of where I was going with the symbols for the samples instead of letters and numbers. So you've got a triangle, a square, circle, and an X, right?
Yeah.
Which are also the symbols on your PlayStation controller. If
Yeah. I've always been an Xbox guy, but I get it.
okay, all right, fair. um, so you can start with whichever one of those tickles your fancy, and let me know which one you do start out with, so I can kind of follow along from my end here.
I think I'm going to start with circle because it's the lightest.
Okay,
How's that sound?
there you go. Dig in, and while you're doing that, I'm going to have a pour of this our truth pick
Okay.
from Hello Again Whiskey Friends, Dusty Dan, World's Worst Bourbon Channel. You got a nice cork pop there. I don't know if you can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they've got the the Brady Bunch call back on the tater sticker, which is cool. But I know they've been talking about this one for quite a bit, so I was anxious to finally get it, and let's give it a rip here. So this is, let's see, sweet mash rye, straight rye whiskey, barrel strength, uncut, unfiltered, 119.5 proof, and it is, let's see, gotta find the age here. Barreled, so it's about just over 4 years old. Okay, so I know that a lot of the stuff that Hard Truth puts out is a little bit younger,
Yeah.
but it kind of drinks older somehow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I actually just recently did a video on age statements and like what other factors go into actually maturing whiskey than the actual age statement. And there's a million different ways that you can artificially mature whiskey faster. So I think it really depends, because your average Texas whiskey is only like 3 years old before it gets like absolutely oak bombed.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest eye opener was the Still Austin cask strength, which was like I think the first one I got was like 2 years.
Mhm.
See a few more people trickling in here. We've got Hunter Stutz. What is going on, my friend? Corvette Trey. Cheers, everyone. Well, cheers to you, Corvette Trey. Gary, 94.6 barley mash bill. Okay, so 96% rye, obviously, 6%. So instead of 95.5, it's 94.6, just to be a little different, I guess. Oh, it's got a nice nose.
Do they distill their own stuff?
Hard Truth?
Yeah.
I believe they do.
Okay.
And Gary can tell me if we're wrong, but I think they're a grain to glass operation. And from what I've seen, I've never been there. They've got a giant campus. It looks like a beautiful facility on this big farm, which from the videos that I've seen, some other channels cut, it just looks like, awesome destination. I just don't know where it is relative to anything else that you might be traveling to. I know that I looked at when last time we went down to Bardstown, I'm like, well, maybe we take a detour and go to Hard Truth, but I think it was just a little bit far out of the way for the time constraints that we had.
Are they Indiana?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Nashville, Indiana. Does that sound right?
Okay. I barely knew Indiana, but yeah, I've always wanted to pick up some of their stuff, but then I end up like go into Total Wine or something like that, and then I'll pick up like a sweet mash rye or something like that, and I'll have it in my hand, and then I'll be walking through and I'll see like something that I just want to try more. So I always end up putting it back. I should give them a chance at some point, but
yeah, I definitely would. I got a single barrel pick from a different group last year that was really good. And then I've had maybe a few other Our Truth offerings at shares and stuff. And everyone I've tried has been pretty good. I think they do some interesting things with like their malts. I think they've got like a chocolate malt rye. Maybe it's a bourbon, I don't know. But something with chocolate malt, something with caramel malt. I think they experiment with a lot of their grains, and they sound like they do put some interesting stuff together.
Tom Morrow seems to know quite a bit about it. The effervescent whiskey influencer.
One of the best overall distillery experience you can have visiting. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it definitely looks like a place that I want to check out at some point. News about whiskey. How's everyone doing tonight? Well, how are you doing tonight? News about whiskey.
Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, this is really good. This is like apricot and peach, like syrup. The little bit of that like mintiness kind of on the back end. This is excellent. So what are you getting from John?
So the nose reminded me actually a lot of Smoke Eye Hill. It's got kind of like a minerality to it, and then a little bit of like a sugary cotton candy thing.
Okay.
And then I was kind of thinking a little bit like Jack Daniels, maybe a little bit like Dickel there for a little bit, just kind of those mineral notes kind of play around. And then I tasted it, and it's very different. Definitely, I would say, tastes 130 proof plus.
Okay.
And very oaky.
All right. Does it taste familiar?
I think so.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to give away any answers or
don't let me cheat.
Vector score, but I know for a fact it's something you probably have on your shelf. Maybe you haven't gone back to it in a minute, but I'm confident you got one of these somewhere. It's not like an obscure pick. It's something pretty common.
Okay. Yeah, it smells really good.
And just opened up Sagamore 8-year and 9-year. Oh my God. I love Sagamore stuff. You a big Sagamore guy, John? That's kind of like over in your area of the state or of the.
Yeah, I'm about an hour and a half from there.
So you've been there?
No, I actually haven't, but I'm going soon. Got some news coming out here pretty soon that I won't spoil because the people who are doing it with me won't let me. But
gotcha. Okay.
Yep, got some news coming, so that'll be a blast.
All right. So there you go. There's one reason to subscribe to John's channel if you're not already. And if one of you would be so kind as to throw up a link to Gentleman in Whiskey in case you haven't seen him before, go check him out. Appreciate it, man. Absolutely. And you know what? I meant to tell you, and maybe I did, maybe I forgot, I don't know. But that fantasy whiskey draft, I had a lot of fun. I didn't do particularly well, but I did have a lot of fun. And I think having done it, I think I have a bit more of an idea what to expect and how I would approach it if you do end up doing it again and inviting me in.
Oh yeah. Next year. But, as long as you want to be a part of it, you're in, man. I think next year we were kind of talking about this as a group a little bit, but I think next year it's going to be more a fantasy whiskey league branding where we'll have a draft. We'll have maybe even week by week matchups, and then a finale where we'll maybe even do some live tasting. All right.
So there's a lot you can build off of that.
Yeah.
And that definitely tracks because I thought it was a really cool idea. And I really liked, you seem very detail oriented. And for those of you guys that didn't see the shorts. Well, I only posted about 10 or 12 of them, so
Yeah.
shame on you guys for not checking those out. But John sent me a box of, I think it was 15 samples.
Yep.
And he had like the foam cut out, so each one of them fit in perfectly, snug as a bug. He had like these custom labels on these things. He's got his stickers on. He just went all out with the presentation, and I thought that was cool from the get-go. And then just kind of seeing how you kept track of all the stats and all the pull-ups. And you struck me as that, that kid I used to be when I was growing up that used to keep track of all the stats on the baseball cards. Very statistic oriented, very detail oriented. And I thought you just did a really nice job with that project. And that was so much fun to participate in.
I was not the statistician, just to be fair. I was the pitcher.
Okay.
So, but no, I like, especially like in baseball, particularly, like if you're going to be a really good pitcher, you need to have like a memory of especially what you're pitching from inning to inning. And I think that's where like I got some of that. I also have ADHD, so like I will hyperfixate on certain things. And as you can tell, whiskey is one of them. And I love stat. Like I'm very stat driven to almost a fault sometimes. So.
All right. So as a stat guy, what's your biggest gripe about maybe some of the labels that you see on whiskey bottles? Is there, a brand in particular that rubs you the wrong way because they don't put something, or is there something that you like because they're so detail oriented?
I mean, obviously Bardstown is the one that I think if you are a stats oriented person, you want as much Bardstown as you can, because they will tell you exactly what's in it, exactly your percentages, how old it is, where it came from for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, there are some NDAs about where their,
right.
Their Georgia distillate comes from or whatever. But yeah, I take your point. Yeah, they break it down so nice. I would say them and Ben Holiday as far as the details on the bottle.
Yeah, I will say I gripe Ben Holiday a little bit because Rickhouse Proof technically doesn't mean anything.
No, but let me ask you this: do you kind of know what it means, though?
Yes, but it is not a regulated term. I
listened to a podcast and they had one of the guys from Ben Holiday explaining that, and I think they were just trying to come up with their own term. I mean, it means what you think it means,
right?
They just wanted to have their own kind of take on it. But yeah, I take your point. I'm drinking a sample I got last night at our bottle share from John. Okay, so news from whiskey.
Dude, who are you? No, seriously, because I did a bottle share last night for 717 Bourbon Society. Do I know you?
Maybe it's under a different handle.
So last night, we're trying. Obviously, I mentioned that we were doing this raffle and we're collecting bottles. So I bribed people in the 717 Bourbon Society to bring bottles to donate. I said, if you bring a bottle over $50 MSRP, I will have samples of like some absolute bangers in my collection that I will, what I did was I labeled them and then I covered them in tape so that you can't tell what it is. So you can't just like go picking through and find the Pappy or the, the GTS, but a lot of fun. So I bribed people to donate because we have this kind of running thing within the state where Philadelphia is challenging Pittsburgh and we're kind of in the middle. And last year, Pittsburgh had like 30 bottles donated or something like that. And Lancaster cleared that in a day.
So you blew them out of the water.
We blew Pittsburgh out of the water in like a single day. We didn't quite catch Philly, but I like to argue that per capita, we are a 10th of what they are. So it makes sense.
Are you a Pennsylvania guy born and raised, John?
I am, yes. Yep.
All right. So obviously, I've shipped you some things.
Right.
Sent you some
right
things.
back
So I can see where you are in proximity to, east versus west, and you're definitely closer to Philadelphia. And is that what dictates, who you root for, as a Eagles guy versus a Steelers guy, as a Phillies guy versus a Pirates guy, or is it just random? Because
somewhat. So hockey is actually my favorite sport. It's my absolute like favorite thing to play and then thing to watch now. So I didn't like the Flyers and their style of play. So when I was picking a team when I was 8 or 10 or something like that, when I was able to start watching, I actually picked the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, okay.
And I wish to hell I had not done that because they are god awful. But the stylings of their goaltender at the time, Dominik Hasek,
sure,
was so unique that he just made me a Sabres fan for life.
I just know him because he played for the Red Wings, and
he did.
They won at least one cup with him.
Yeah, they did. I think it's 2005 was the one.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a hockey guy. My extent of hockey knowledge comes from playing the Sega games, the PlayStation games.
Yeah,
and that's really it. I mean, I know that the Red Wings had a good run here, but I was never big into hockey.
All right, so should I leave some in this for comparison's sake later when you ask questions?
I mean, that's your preference. I know they're not the biggest samples in the world, so if you want to leave just a taste to go back to, that's probably not a bad strategy. But I don't know that Scott or Marty did that last week because again, they're not the biggest samples. They're just a little bit more than an ounce. Did you get past O, or are you still on that one?
Oh no, I'm still on O.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm slow. Let me get with the program.
We're not in a hurry here. Tom said he won in 2002 and 2008 with the Wings. Man, okay. I was thinking it was like the 90s. I am so out of touch. I like that I've got a fact checker here, Tom. I appreciate you. And we've got Whiskey Blender Fraley in the house. Cheers, Nancy. How you doing?
You get all the good people in yours. I get all the like weird Pennsylvania people.
We get some cool people in here from time to time.
Definitely.
Maybe it depends on who else is streaming. I don't know who else is streaming right now. I know Whiskey Row tends to stream on Thursday nights, and they've got a pretty big following. But Marty's always here, or usually here. There he is.
Yeah, he earned my sub last week.
Yeah, Marty's, like I was saying earlier, you start to discover, some of these smaller channels as you get deeper into the Whiskey Tube black hole. And, I said, I that's kind of how I came across your channel. And that's exactly how I came across Marty's channel. And he's just one of those dudes that I hit it off with right away. And, he's a big supporter. I support him. We've done a few collaborations, and he's just become a real good friend of mine. Jeff Wack, hello again, Whiskey friends. What is going on, Jeff? I am sipping on your pick, and I'm really digging it, my friend. Let's say hi to Travis Robeson. What's going on?
I don't know who runs their Instagram account, but they asked me if I'd be on there.
I think that's usually Jeff. And Jeff is a great dude. Have you got to meet him yet?
Not in person, no.
Okay. Yeah, they do a lot of fun things over on their channel. I did get to meet Jeff. Actually got to meet him on 2 occasions last year. Just a great dude, just like you'd think he would be. And those guys, what I'll say about their channel is they're always doing something for the community. They are always trying to bring people together. So, we should all be so, lucky to know those guys.
Yeah, I've watched a few of their lives there. They're a lot of fun to watch.
They do a fun stream. They're one of the ones that I do tend to watch more frequently than some of the others.
Right.
Just getting the report. Okay.
All right. So what do you want to next? Yep.
Triangle. Okay.
This one's giving me American single malt, man.
So do you like American single malt?
Yeah, I'm very malt curious. That's why the World Whiskey was a fantasy whiskey draft category this year. I don't know that that's going to happen next year because they were.
I kind of got the feeling that no one liked that category. The ones that I put in, I thought were decent. They got dogged.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out no one really likes like if you don't love the concept of malt whiskey, I think you're just like there's not redemption to it. I feel like you're either bourbon or you're Scotch, and it's very few and far between to find people who like both. Like I do enjoy both, but my bourbon selection is much larger than my malt selection.
See, there was definitely a time where I had way more Scotch than bourbon, and it was kind of towards the beginning of when I was getting into whiskey, and it was more of a proof thing, I think, than anything else. Um,
Yeah.
so I kind of favored the the 80 to 90 proof,
Yep.
offerings as opposed to like the nuclear 129 Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. Just getting into whiskey and just kind of learning the different regions, the nuances, the finishes. I think Scotch is really interesting,
Yeah.
and I think I did end up gravitating more towards bourbon as I got more into it, but kind of going back to American single malts, it does kind of present like an interesting middle ground, at least to me, because you've got obviously it's a single malt, so it's more like Scotch, but it's got that American influence, so it's a little bit more like bourbon. And so I think it's a real interesting category, and there's been a few that I've tried that I really like, including that Westward that I put into that pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for whatever reason, you guys didn't like it, or I don't know if it was even you that got to try it, but
I did, yeah. I pretty sure I got the Westward.
But
I feel like I did not like something about it. There was a like very predominant note that I was not big on.
yeah, and even for me, it's one of the ones that I like the most. But I got it in my as a blind, and I did not like the nose. I'm like, this is weird. But it's really great on the palate and the finish, but it was a little funky on the nose. So I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, especially if you are starting out with the premise like Chris, I think, was like, dude, I don't like Scotch.
Yeah.
So you're probably not gonna like American single malts unless maybe you open your mind a little bit more, maybe try
Yeah.
some that
Yeah.
you might not think you like until you get to the one that you do. So I think there's a Scotch out there that even the most adamant
Yeah.
anti-Scotch bourbon drinker is gonna find something that they like.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of like in the groups that I've been a part of, the Aberlour Abanad, the like 120 proof usually like
Right.
like beast of an Aberlour Scotch is generally the one that a lot of my like bourbon drinker friends ended up liking because it just like when you're going from 80
Brings the
proof
proof.
to one, right? Exactly, 100%.
And as far as the scotches that I have and drank through, there's not too many that are up there in terms of that kind of proof. So yeah, I mean that probably would be a good one to try to introduce people to that are the high proof bourbon fans that say, oh, I don't like Scotch. So there are some out there that are higher proof that maybe it's something that maybe they should give a shot. Let's see. Too bad the malt isn't more loved. Hey, well, Nancy, I think it's just too early for a lot of people. I think there's going to be a curve. There's early adopters, people that have liked Scotch and Irish, but I think is it something that people become more acclimated to and more familiar with? I think that interest will rise. 'Cause I mean, it's a brand new category.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some things that I like about it. There are some things that I don't like about it. I think it is different enough from both Scotch and from bourbon that it is a category in and of itself that is its own thing, but it's kind of the love child between both.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it lives now.
Yeah.
But it seems to be such a like a wide range of what it could be, and there's just not that many places that are regularly doing them to kind of get people on board. I mean, I think to me the most popular one is Westward because they're distributed all the way here in Michigan. I think they're pretty, well distributed across the country. So I figure it's something that people are maybe more familiar with than other stuff, but maybe they're
I feel
just
like
not yet.
Stranahan's. I feel like Stranahan's is one of the biggest ones.
Stranahan's I think they're out here. I've not. No, you know what? I have tried a Stranahan's once, and I did like it, but maybe I just don't see it anymore. I don't know.
We also get a lot of Virginia Distilling Company around here, and those are actually really good. I had one of them.
I've heard about them. I've not seen. I don't think they distribute to Michigan. Tim says Old Line is really good as well. Tim, do they distribute to Michigan, or is that online only? Danny says, big fan of the new riff, okay, the American Single Malt for 2023. Yeah, I think that was the one that I really liked as well. I don't think I was as keen on the 2024. For whatever reason, I don't know what the difference was, but they were, in terms of profiles, they were almost night and day. And I think Marty might have given it to us in a blind, and no one could figure out what the heck that 24 was. All right. So any other notes on Triangle, John?
There's an interesting palate note that I can't quite nail down.
Okay.
It's kind of akin to like leathery or maybe like a little bit herbal, like an anise, like a licorice.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And then there's like some strawberry on the nose. It's got like really big mouthfeel, like very, very good consistency. I would make some pretty bold statements about this if it were not American single malt. So
okay,
or
cheers,
malted
Troy.
Of some sort. So
how you doing, Baker Drinks? Are you familiar with Troy's channel, John?
I've seen some of their stuff. I think I actually watched you on their channel.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that's another, again, a smaller channel that does a lot of fun things. They put on a fun stream. I like their videos. Troy and Laura do a good job. Definitely check them out. If somebody wants to throw up a link to Baker Drinks, go ahead and do that. Definitely one of the channels that I follow. Tim says, not to Michigan, but I did pick up. Okay, so you got it online. I think I saw that one too, Tim, but I have not tried it.
All right, I'm pouring up X.
X. All right. I'll look to see what that one is. All right. So interested to see your take on that one.
Okay. I like the color. It's nice and dark.
Is that the darkest of the bunch?
I honestly can't quite tell with square, but I think probably. Okay. And then I'm assuming this one, the amber bottle, is just for me.
The one that has no label?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just something for you to try. I'll tell you what it is afterwards if you want. It's not part of the game or anything. It's just something that I don't think you've had that I'm curious to see if it's something that maybe you do like. So kind of something new, I think.
This one's really jammy. It's got like some big upfront fruit notes, like strawberry jam.
Okay.
A little bit
so here's a question for you, John.
Too. Yeah, what's up?
So what is the most recent bottle that you purchased?
Ooh. It is a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof from my buddy Nick at Sauble's Markets. It's a 125.3 proof H1.
H1 is the
warehouse on the floor.
Okay. All right. Did you have a lot of those?
I really actually only have Nick's picks. I got a few, and I did them for Gentleman of Whiskey, our tasting group, where we kind of all started from, that I was talking about in the beginning. Does a birthday celebration every year where we do a featured whiskey and a featured cigar pairing. And the first year we did 3 single barrels of Old Forester, and that was like a lot of fun comparing them. I'm a top floor guy, and I'm a warehouse K guy for the most part. So if you've got a K7, I'm interested.
So would you say is something you usually have on your shelf, a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof?
Did I say Jack Daniel's? I meant Old Forester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do actually have a few Jack Daniel's single barrel proofs, but
Okay.
the Old Foresters, yeah, I don't know what you're like, but I am a very like not start a bottle and finish a bottle. I'm very like,
No.
I'll drink some Stag tonight. I'll drink some 1792 tonight, you know. And I really don't drink that often. I would say I'm about once a week.
Okay.
So
Yeah, if I was finish a bottle before I open the next one, I think I'd have enough for about 37 lifetimes here. No, I always like trying something different. Something new, something interesting. And somebody asked me, well, what's your go-to? And it's just like, man, I don't know. What did I get that week? There are certain things that I might go to more frequently than others, but it's very much a mood or a season.
Oh yeah.
Do I want something, finished with a high proof or something, nice and easy, like a smooth sipper? I don't have anything that I would call a go-to.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, there are some things that I definitely will go replace as soon as they're empty, like maybe like Rare Breed
Mm.
or the Still Austin Cask Strength Bourbon. Those are a couple of my favorites.
Yeah. This is interesting. It definitely tastes crafty. Like
Okay.
it's got a little bit of graininess that I traditionally get off of something like a Ragged Branch or a Garrison Brothers, or something that's a little bit younger, and the graininess doesn't tend to filter out as well.
Okay.
So could be craft, could be some of that stuff, but I'm gonna give it a taste because it smells really interesting.
I don't know if any of you guys are drinking this Hard Truth that you probably just would have got this week if you ordered one. But wow, it is really good. It's quite a bit better than the other Hard Truth pick that I got from last year. It's like peach and apricot syrup on top of a rye. It's just delicious.
There's a lot of big bold flavor in this. Like it's
Okay.
pretty oaky. Oh, that second sip was right there too. There is something that I don't know if I like on it.
Okay, that's fair.
It's a little soapy.
Okay, that does not sound like a good note.
No, it's yeah, it's interesting. Taking a couple sips now, see if that kind of like goes away. And I don't know that it's necessarily like it doesn't taste directly like soap, but it's got kind of like an herbal quality to it, maybe like a rose or something like that.
Okay.
It's interesting.
So Troy says he's waiting on his Franchi Bunch pick. Was supposed to arrive today, but it snowed. They're trying to get it tomorrow, so just in time for the weekend, Troy. I think you're really gonna like that. Soap could be a result of this. Oh boy, there's a big that.
Yeah,
That's
you're gonna
that's a
need to
triple
dumb that
word
down for me,
score right
Nancy.
there. Yeah, pretend I don't know what that.
Yeah, because
means.
I don't. We were doing our 1792 pick with Ross, the master distiller, Ross Cornelison, and I was like talking about like the one pick had a lot of like burnt sugar, like creme brulee kind of notes. He's like, "Oh, the Maillard's reaction," and I was like, "Sure."
What? Gary says the Hard Truth pick is still available, but it's on Sealbox. Search WWBC and that'll get you there. And for those not in the know, WWBC is the world's worst bourbon channel. Definitely check it out. Spoiler alert, it's not. I think Gary likes to think it is, but it's not.
I mean, you kind of gotta like grade on a curve, because there's definitely some people out there who their channels are not super engaging, but they're also generally pretty new. Like, I don't think any of us came out of the gate being super good at this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll watch somebody new just to see, I'll try to remember what it was like when I did my first video,
Right.
and how awkward that was, because this is not something that I would normally do. It's outside of my comfort zone, being on a camera,
Yeah.
talking, to nobody. But it got to be, well, my son's usually here, so we're goofing off most of the time. That makes it easier. But I know most of the model is, most of you guys are just sitting here talking to a camera, right? Is there anybody else in the room with you for when you shoot your videos?
Me, absolutely not. I'm in my basement with my furnace. So
yeah, so it's kind of like the premise is awkward.
A little bit. I don't think about it too much like that.
Well, I mean, obviously you got to get past it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I've never been like, for lack of a better term, I've always been content being by myself, and I talk to myself a bunch. So this is just an extension of that.
Okay. All right. Troy says saponification, or somebody didn't rinse out the bottom. Okay, so
it could be my Glens too. But I mean,
I can get down with Troy.
I generally rinse my Glens pretty well, but this is very distinct. And usually, if I didn't do that, there's spots on it, and this one looks pretty clean. So I don't know.
No, I think once you find out what it is, that might make some sense, because it might be something that you're familiar with, and if you're familiar with it, you either like it or you don't. I think it's one of those that it's pretty polarizing. You either like it or you kind of don't like it. There's very few that I know that are lukewarm on this particular pour. All right. So those of you that are in the giveaway, we're going to probably run it until about 8:45, and then we'll pull the plug on that and start putting together the wheel.
I'll rinse this glass out ahead of time just so it's not that.
The voice is in my head. I'm not recording video. Well, that's one way to look at it.
All right,
one more left for you here. You should have the square one, right?
Yep, that's what I just poured up.
Okay.
I don't know. This one actually looks like it's pretty close in color to the last one too. The first two were a little light. The last two look pretty dark.
All right, so the next pour I'm going to have over here, John, is this double barrel foundation from Barrel. You probably started to see some reviews on this one circulating. We shot one, probably should be out in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 days maybe. But as far as looking for something that's kind of lower proof, this is at 100. It's something that's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $49.
Okay.
I think this is absolutely fantastic. And I think.
Sorry, squares on that one. Sorry. Yeah. Square's very orangey and a little bit briny.
All right.
So do you generally like Barrel stuff?
I do. It's one of the brands that I think I kind of first maybe gravitated towards as I got further into bourbon and started to appreciate things that were higher proof. And I think it was Seagrass that really sucked me in. That's just a wild product.
Yeah, I had that for the first time actually a few months ago, and I poured it, and I was like, "This is wild," and I like
Mhm.
it. I think I like really bold, fruity finished ryes. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And what I liked, I think, the most about it is, I'd have a pour. It's like, wow, there was so much apricot in that one. And then I'd go
Mhm.
back to it like a few weeks later, and I'd be like, wow, that was really like rummy. It was very sweet, sugary. And I'd go back to, I was always like, every time I would go back to it, it was something else. Like there's just so many different layers and very, very complex. And I was like, wow, this is just so wild. Like, that's the best way to describe it. It's friggin' wild.
Yeah.
So I think from there I got into like Dovetail, and I think that's another great one. The batches that they do, with like the numbers, those ones are always good. And the knock for me was like everything that they put out was like $85.
Yeah.
But then they started putting out these foundations last year at 50, and I think that's one, they're awesome. They're great bottles, but two, I think it makes good business sense to kind of have something further down the line that more people are going to reach for.
Yeah.
At that price point, maybe get more people acclimated with the brand, and I think it's a really good way to do that. So it's a great pour.
I get a lot of orange off this.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Is that a note that you usually like or usually don't like, or
Depends on what else manifests with it usually. And
okay.
it like I'm not big on astringency. Like if it's really drying on the palate and the finish, I'm not all about that. And sometimes really orangey stuff is like that.
Yeah, I like that note if it's like the good ones that I can think of that have that orange note. Also, I get like a cola, and it's like a saturated orange and a cola
Okay.
note together, and I'm like, wow, I
Like a
really
rare breed.
like that combination. And where I would get it is in like certain like high proof, ryes. Like there's a Mere Pingree rye that I get that note on that I just love. But then there's what is it Madeira that's the orange?
Nah, it's VDN, Vino de Naranja.
Okay, Naranja.
Yeah, whatever Spanglish I just spouted.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew where you were going with that. That is actually like an orange wine of some sort.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, it's a bit of a different note. But I'll tend to get that in some of the higher proofed, like denser pours. It can be. I think it's usually a rye, but sometimes I'll get it in a bourbon.
Yeah. I get orange and cola off Rare Breed.
Okay.
Pretty frequently.
Man, Rare Breed, I just get like dark cherry, like black cherry, and it's a bold, almost like it's punching you in the face. I don't know how to. It's a bold note.
I mean, I'm not one to talk. I thought Rare Breed was a rye.
There is a Rare Breed rye.
No, like I thought your Rare Breed offering was a finished rye.
It's a last year's Rare Breed, and there were some people that were saying that last year's Rare Breed seemed different than before. It didn't necessarily to me. I mean, it just tasted like more of the same, but my palate's not that refined and sophisticated that I could probably make that assessment. It tasted like Rare Breed to me.
Fair.
But it's one of those that's, to me, it's always good.
See, but I like your tasting notes and the way that you approach things because you come at it from an experiential point of view. You're not just like what I do, which is I just popcorn like tasting notes, like whatever pops out to my palate. But like you have a very like flowing way of describing things, and I like that.
Well, I appreciate that. It's probably the editing.
Fair.
So I don't necessarily know that I agree with you. Sometimes I got to think about it, and I'll blurt something out, and I'll be like, "Yeah, you can't have that. Do that again."
To be fair, though, you can't edit what's not there.
Okay. Yeah, that's why some of it takes 45 minutes worth of footage to get a 5-minute video.
Been there, dude. Been there.
All right, so you've got all of these down, yeah?
I do. Yep.
Okay. All right. So first question, this is one that's scored, is do you have a favorite?
Yes.
And which one is that?
That is circle.
Okay. And how about a least favorite?
Ooh. Ah, man. It is between X and square.
Okay.
I think it's X.
Gotcha. All right. I can get on board with that for sure. All right. So here's the questions that I'm going to ask you that constitute the game here. All right.
Okay.
So first question I've got for you is, of your samples, which do you believe is the highest proof?
Oof. Give me 1 sec. I think it's between circle and square.
All right.
Give me 1 sec to go back to circle. I had written down 100 proof on square, and then it gave me this crazy Kentucky hug or wherever it's from hug.
Okay.
So I think it's closer to 130, but that's also what I had written down for circle. So interesting. I'm going to go with square.
All right. Locking you in. All right. So the next question 2, is which of these do you think is the lowest proof?
I think it's X.
All right. How about this? Number 3, which of these, and there could be more than one, is finished?
I think there's 2. I think
Well, you only got to guess one, so you got to,
Okay.
a better chance of getting a point on this one.
Okay. I think triangle and square. So I'll go triangle first if that's you need just one answer.
All right. So I'll put you in for triangle.
Yeah.
All right. All right. How about number 4 is which of these is a bourbon?
So I'm assuming there's only one, and I'm assuming it's X.
All right. And which of these is a rye?
I think O and square are both ryes.
So you only got to give one.
Okay, go square on that one.
All right. All right. Question 6 is which of these has the highest age statement?
Oof.
And I'm terrible at guessing age statements. I mean, I think I could tell if something's really young.
Yeah.
But I have a really hard time discerning if something's really old.
I'm going to go with X. I'm going to go with X as the highest age statement.
Okay. All right. And I am on number 7. Which of these has the highest MSRP, highest retail price?
X.
All right. Which of these has the lowest MSRP?
O.
All right. Number 9 is which of these is distilled in Kentucky?
X.
Okay. And last question that I'm scoring anyway. Which of these is distilled in Michigan?
Gonna go with square.
All right. All right. So before I tally all these up, I'll show you what these are.
Okay.
You said your favorite you think was Circle?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that one is 1792 foolproof.
Interesting. Okay.
And I know I've seen a video where you were at 1792, so I know it's something you're familiar with. And as I'm looking at your screen, I think I can pick out a couple of the bottles behind you.
Yep, right there.
Yeah. So I know it's something that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it's not something that I've gone back to for a while. That bottle I might have had on my shelf for maybe 3 years. So I don't know if it might have changed a little bit versus what it was versus what it is now.
Yeah.
But it's not like most of the bottles gone. It's at least 3/4 of the way full. So obviously that's a Kentucky bourbon, 125 proof, unfinished.
Yeah.
All right, and you said your least favorite was
who?
Was it X?
I think. Yeah, I think it was X.
All right, let me grab this real quick.
Okay. Also, shout out to Dave Warmingham. I call him Uncle Dave. He's a super cool guy.
Just cheers, Dave. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so X is this Angel's Envy.
Okay.
Single barrel. And, I think this is one of those brands that people either love or they hate.
Yeah.
And I don't love it.
What's the proof on that one?
It's 110.
Ooh, see, I put 105 to 110, so I'm at least happy with that.
You were tracking in the right direction. And, Angel's Envy is just one of those brands I don't like. I tell myself, you don't like it, don't buy Angel's Envy. So, like, what do? I go to the store where I usually buy their picks. What's new? Hey, we got an Angel's Envy pick. Hey, I'll take it. You idiot.
Are all of their new store picks?
I don't like it.
Are all of their new store picks 110?
I don't know. It does have a unique label. It's got the name of the store and everything. It says 55%, 110 proof. And then just like every other bourbon that I've seen by them, it's, finished in port wine barrels. So I don't know if they're all the same proof or not. I just know that I've yet to have one of these that I really like.
I want to respond to one comment real quick. Travis Robinson. Completely agree. The Angel's Envy bottled and bond that they have at the distillery is really, really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it finished in port barrels?
It is not finished in any barrels whatsoever.
That's what I wanted to try, is something that's not finished in a port barrel. And I think every rye that I've seen is finished in rum casks.
Yeah.
I've never tried anything from Angel's Envy that wasn't finished.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's got like this kind of bubblegummy flavor that's really interesting. See,
for the rye is mint, like so much mint to me. And if mint is the dominant note, I'm out. And it's just it as soon as I sip it, it hits me right in the face, and it's just like, dude, this is not my jam.
Interesting.
I think that was the first rye that I really got that minty note on, so it's very it's very memorable. So that was X.
Yeah.
Triangle, which you said maybe was giving you American single malt vibes.
Yes, they did say that. Really hope I'm not wrong.
All right, so that is actually the Walleye Run 7-year malted rye.
Okay.
So it's not a single malt per se.
Right.
But I can see how you might get some interesting vibes on that. And if it's not something that you've tried, it's definitely different, right?
Yeah. I think that was the most interesting to me. It gave me, I wrote down Stranahan's. Like, it reminded me a lot of Stranahan's.
When I drink their distillate, it's New Holland, and this goes for their ryes and their bourbons. I get like a Hawaiian Punch vibe.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's more so, I think, in the bourbons, but it's definitely there as well on the rise. But yeah, very fruity. Like it's definitely that Hawaiian Punch, you know, from the steel can when you were a kid, or maybe when I was a kid and you were not.
I think it was plastic by the time I was a kid, so I don't think
but
you're that much older than me. But
that's the note that I get on
okay.
the distiller. And for the most part, people I know that have tried it really enjoy it. But I do have one buddy that does not like the New Holland distillate at all. So I guess it might be a little bit of a polarizing profile. Yeah. And then the last one was Bardstown Bourbon Company, and this is a single barrel rye. This was actually the Mash and Journey Bardstown Blitz pick, which is Kentucky straight rye finished in a toasted cherry wood and oak barrel. So a little bit of a different profile, but I think that one is actually fantastic.
I got a lot of like rum notes off of this, like briny, almost sugar caney.
That was the one you said you were getting the orangish kind of vibes, and I think that was a note that I was getting off of that one. I had that last, so that tracks. So why don't we do a couple of things? Tyler, are you paying attention there, guy? All right, so why don't we go ahead and stop the entries? You got the wheels put together? All right, excellent. All right, so I'm going to tally up your score here, John. I put together a key in just a moment. I'm going to tell you. Well, how do you think you did based on knowing what you are now?
Not well after the reveal.
Well, I think you started out slow, but I think you got some momentum here.
Be surprised if I got 5. Let me put it that way.
I got you down for 5.
All right, let's go.
So I think that's pretty good. I think that last time we did this, Marty ended up somehow pulling 6.
Yep.
Which I wasn't sure what a good score was going to be, whether it was going to be, maybe 4 is a great score. Maybe it's 9. I think it's going to be dependent on probably your flight.
Right.
And then, from there, probably a little bit of luck, I suppose. But I think 5 is probably a pretty good score.
I'll take 50%.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get 50% is pretty darn good, I would think. Shudder to think what I would have got on these. But yeah, so I think you did pretty darn good, John.
Well, if you ever want to test that, you've got a blind sitting there.
I do. I mean, maybe we'll need to figure that out, but I haven't touched it. I did just get it today. I unwrapped it. It took me a bit to get all of the packing. We're not taking any chances with that, and I appreciate you.
No, absolutely.
All right, so let's do this. Tyler, why don't you go ahead and put the wheel up? All right, so okay. All right, so we got all the entries. Are you confident you got everybody to put in, Ty? You got all the PayPals and Venmos and whatever? Cheers, Doc. Tom's turn is being bottles. Okay, so we'll get into something with Marty here soon. All right. All right, so the first spin we'll do for the bottle here, and that again is the Walleye Run 7-year double barrel malted rye, 105 proof, very small batch, it says, so you know it's good. Spin her up, Ty. Let's see who gets the bottle.
It's real good, by the way. I'm assuming that's what I had for one of these.
Yours was the regular. The one that I'm giving away is slightly higher proof, and it is double barreled. Tim Cornet.
Nice. Congratulations, Tim.
Tim, I'm curious if this is one you've tried before. Let me know. All right. And then next I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away the flight that we had for you, John. So second prize will be a flight.
You'll have the advantage of knowing what it is.
Marty.
Congrats, Marty.
All right, buddy. You got a flight coming your way. And then the last one is going to be a Bourbon Jerk Glen. And let's see who's left. And these were put together by Top Dog, who's got a burner of some sort that he puts these together. Danny Lopez. There you go, buddy. You might already have one of these. If you do, just hit me up. We'll figure something else out. But Danny gets the third prize. So thanks to everybody that got into the giveaways here. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. John, you got anything that you want to plug here? Anything coming up that you're working on as far as, I know you said there was a few things you can't talk about.
Yeah.
But anything that you can, anything coming up on the channel?
I almost always do a spring state of the industry address with my buddy Nick from Saubles Markets. So that is coming up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I just released a video yesterday with the budget stretchers, kind of
like the best values. I think I saw as the title.
Yep.
Okay.
Highest value kind of thing, where it's, if you're looking for bottles that can compete with more expensive bottles, that's the list. So,
and I think those are great videos that people want to see, because not everybody can walk into a store and get a George T. Stagg, right?
Right.
So you want to know, well, what's something decent that I can actually get my hands on? That's useful content, I think. So
yeah.
Do you do like a regular live stream, or do you occasionally do a live stream?
More occasionally. I need to get back into it. We've been kind of chilling since I had a kid in December, but we're getting back into it.
And I was going to mention this when we first got going. I'm like, you've been on a bit of a wild ride here the first month or so of the year. Your first child, correct?
Yep.
Was born like right around Christmas.
29th. So
okay,
almost
so before New Year's. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl the other day.
That they did.
And I'm a little bitter about that. I mean, I'm not an Eagles fan per se. I didn't want the Chiefs to win. It's not, neither one of them are my team. So I mean, it's
fair.
I think I mentioned this when I was on with Scott and Marty. Is we're fans, which is short for fanatic. And if our team isn't there, we're bitter. We're upset. And I think as a Lions fan, lifelong, it was one of those years where I really felt like we were going to be there, but it just didn't work out. Yeah,
it was a tough one for you guys.
Yeah. So, are you a baseball guy at all, John?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Phillies.
Yep.
Okay. All right. They can be good this year?
I think so. It all depends on May through July is usually what determines whether or not we make the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, they seem like they got a club that actually likes to spend money to get talent. Yep. So
definitely
that puts them in one of the upper echelons of Major League Baseball, the way things work now. It seems like you're either the Dodgers and the Yankees, and you can spend all the money, or you're one of the others just hoping to get some of the crumbs that are left for everyone else.
Yeah, we're hoping to make the actual World Series and do it. It's since we've gotten Harper, it's been like we've made the World Series twice now and lost. So it's
that's a big time talent. We haven't seen that here in probably since Cabrera was in his prime about 12, 15 years ago. Anything else that you got coming up?
I kind of fly by the seat of my pants as far as content goes. So just stay tuned. I release videos on Wednesdays. I try to do 2 shorts a week. Those have been kind of falling off recently, but generally it comes. Tomorrow will be a Jack Daniel's Coy Hill 2023 review. So,
Nice.
or 2024. So if you're interested in that, check that out.
So definitely check John's channel out. Give him a subscribe. Check out what he does. Just a good dude, a good channel. There's good content there. It's worth your while. It's worth checking out. We just put out a video today. Go check it out. I think it was whiskeys I'm not going to buy in 2025, and hopefully I can stick to my own proclamation here, like maybe I didn't last year. We've got the Patreon group still building up here. We do a bottle giveaway every month. All you got to do is get in any paid tier, even if it's the $1 tier, and you got a chance to win. Last month, we gave away an Evernorth single barrel pick to Roger Reese, who was in here earlier. So check that out. We'll try to keep doing the live streams every other week. Keep guests interesting, like John here. Play a little game. I think our next stream is scheduled for the 27th. Stay tuned. I got an interesting guest lined up that I think you guys are going to want to check out. So be on the lookout for that. And appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And until next time, cheers. Thanks for watching. Stay jerky.